بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أنا الدكتورة عفاف عبد الحافظ, Professor of Internal Medicine. Our topic today is a clinical session titled Auscultation of the Abdomen. To remember, first, landmarks of the abdomen. There is a xiphoid process. This is anatomical landmark for each person, not patient only. Xiphoid process nearly is opposite the ninth thoracic spine. Then costal margins. When you examine patient, you must identify xiphoid process, costal margins of the patient. Lowest points of the costal margins. If a plane passing by the lowest points of the costal margins, it will cut nearly lumbar 3. There is also the middle line. There is also important landmark, it is the umbilicus. The umbilicus is midway between the xiphoid process and symphysis pubis. There is the inguinal points, mid-inguinal points, the midpoint of a line between the anterior superior iliac spine and symphysis pubis. There is the transpyloric plane, not in front of you. The transpyloric plane is one patient hand breadth below the xephisternal joint. The abdomen can be divided into 9 compartments by 2 longitudinal lines and 2 transverse lines. The 2 longitudinal lines are the right and the left midclavicular lines. Midclavicular lines is drawn between the midpoint of clavicle and midpoint of inguinal ligament on both sides. Regarding the 2 transverse lines, the upper transverse line is the subcostal plane between the lowest points of the costal margins. And the lowest one, the lowest transverse plane, is the intertubercular plane between the iliac tubercles. Nearly, it is opposite the lumbar 5. The umbilicus nearly is opposite lumbar 4. Again, the 2 vertical lines, midclavicular lines between the midpoint of the clavicle and midpoint of inguinal ligament. 2 transverse lines, the upper one is the subcostal line, subcostal plane. It may cut in most all patient lumbar 3 body. It's between the lowest points of the costal margins. The second transverse plane is the intertubercular plane or transtubercular plane between the iliac tubercles of both iliac crests. It corresponds nearly to lumbar 5. The 9 compartments are the right hypochondrium, epigastrium, left hypochondrium, right flank, umbilical region, left flank, all right lumbar, umbilical, left lumbar, then right iliac fossa, suprapubic area, left iliac fossa. The abdomen also can divide into 4 compartments: the upper left quadrant, the right upper quadrant, the right lower quadrant, the left lower quadrants, by 2 lines, the midline and line passing by the umbilicus. Auscultation technique. Perform auscultation before percussion or palpation, as these maneuvers may change the frequency of bowel sounds, may lead to silent abdomen. Auscultate with the diaphragm of the stethoscope, usually the diaphragm of the stethoscope, pressed lightly on the abdominal wall, aiming to assess intestinal sounds and other sounds, as we will mention later. Auscultate the 4 abdominal quadrants. First, 7 items to be discussed in auscultation of the abdomen. The first item is intestinal sounds. Bowel sounds need to be listened for in all 4 quadrants of the abdomen with the diaphragm of the stethoscope. Listen in systematic manner, starting in the right upper quadrant from 1 to 9, as in front of you. Bowel sounds are high-pitched, gurgling noises. They are irregular, vary in frequency, pitch, and intensity. Range from some literatures say from 4 to 8, also right, from 5 to 30 a minute, it's okay also. Listen for 1 minute at least. If you think bowel sounds are absent, listen longer and repeat. After assurance with the patient, can repeat. Auscultate at fixed area. Don't move rapidly. The right lower quadrant is the best site. Duration of auscultation 1 minute usually. The sounds usually vary in pitch, medium to low to high, in form of gurgling or clicks. If higher pitch and more frequent, it's called borborygmi. They are loud, prolonged, heard occasionally without stethoscope, sometimes after meals. It indicates hyperperistalsis, but may be normal variant. Frequency 5 to 30 per minute. Intestinal sounds increased in early small intestinal obstruction in acute early cases due to accumulation of air and fluid in dilated hyperperistaltic intestinal loops proximal to the obstruction. It corresponds with waves of abdominal colic, diarrhea, severe GIT bleeding, malabsorption syndrome, carcinoid syndrome. Intestinal sound diminished or absent in peritonitis, long-standing intestinal obstruction, ileus, mesenteric vascular occlusion, prolonged handling of the gut during palpation, percussion, or intraoperative or post-operative, myxedema, electrolyte disturbance, especially hypokalemia, uremia. If diminished, usually it is less than 5 per minute. Second auscultational target is venous hum. Sometimes in cases of portal hypertension, venous hum can be heard between the xiphisternum and the umbilicus and at the umbilicus, from below the xiphisternum down to the umbilicus. It's due to reopening and increased blood flow in the umbilical and para-umbilical veins. This shunt blood from portal vein to epigastric and internal mammary veins in the anterior abdominal wall. Shunt blood, namely from the left branch of portal vein that belongs to the portal circulation to veins of the anterior abdominal wall that belongs to systemic circulation. It is one of the sites of shunt or collaterals that occurs in portal hypertension to decompress the high portal pressure. Usually occurs in some portal hypertensives with well-developed portosystemic collaterals called Kinawi sign. Venous hum indicates patent portal vein intrahepatic cause of portal hypertension. If venous hum is heard at the epigastrium or down over the umbilicus associated with dilated abdominal veins called caput medusa, you can, in patient with liver cirrhosis, it is referred to by some literature as Creutzfeldt-Jakob-Baumgarten syndrome. Venous hum is continuous humming sound, systolic and diastolic. Continuous, I mean systolic and diastolic, humming sound, like the sound of air condition or like this. Heard between the xiphisternum and the umbilicus or at the umbilicus itself. It increased by inspiration or straining and decreased by firm pressure with the stethoscope. Third item is abdominal bruit. In front of you, this is the aorta. Aortic bifurcation to iliac arteries occurs a few centimeters below and to the left and to the right of the umbilicus. Remember umbilicus at lumbar 4. Renal arteries usually at the hilum of the kidney that corresponds to lumbar 2. Just below and on both sides, below and on both lateral sides of lumbar 2 or at the level of lumbar 2. Remember that transpyloric plane is at the level of the lumbar 1. And transpyloric plane also is patient hand breadth below the xiphisternum. So if you put your hand at below the xiphisternum, the lower edge of your hand, of the hand of any person, will be opposite lumbar 1 nearly. 3 centimeters below will be opposite lumbar 2. If you go lateral 3 to 4 centimeters on both sides, you will be opposite the renal hilum anteriorly. Berwi also called vascular murmur. That's to say, a murmur away from the heart is called Berwi. Berwi is a murmur away from the heart. It's abnormal sound generated by turbulent blood flow. Because laminar normal blood flow, you will not hear sound. Turbulent blood flow due to area of narrowing or obstruction or increased rate of blood flow will lead to murmur or Berwi if you are away from the heart. Aortic Berwi, patient should be supine, and the examiner places the stethoscope in the middle line of the patient abdomen, about 5 centimeters above the umbilicus, and listen carefully for the presence of aortic Berwi. If aortic Berwi is present, the cause may be aortic aneurysm or atheroma, or celiac or superior mesenteric artery stenosis. In case of aortic aneurysm or atheroma, vascular insufficiency of lower limb may be the clinical association. In celiac or superior mesenteric artery stenosis, mesenteric angina and abdominal pain may be the clinical situation. This for auscultation of aortic Berwi. The middle line, 5 centimeters above the umbilicus. Renal artery Berwi. Renum hilum is opposite second lumbar vertebra. Transpyloric spleen is opposite first lumbar vertebra. Auscultation should be performed either opposite the renal angles anteriorly, subcostal area, or at the renal angle posteriorly if intestinal sound is a problem or high. The renal angle posteriorly is between the costal margin and sacrospinalis border and iliac crest. The Berwi in renal artery stenosis is systolic or systolic diastolic. And usually renovascular hypertension is the clinical situation. Hepatic Berwi. Auscultations should be performed over the right hypochondrium and epigastrium over the liver. The Berwi is systolic or systolic diastolic. The Berwi may occur in acute alcoholic hepatitis, hepatic arteriovenous malformation, or highly vascular tumors as hepatomas. Splenic Berwi. Auscultation should be performed over the left hypochondrium, just above the level of the costal margin. Just lateral to the midclavicular line. The Berwi is usually systolic. The cause may be splenic artery compression in Cancer pancreas or splenic arteriovenous malformation or fistula. Iliac artery Berwi. Auscultation should be performed few centimeters below and lateral to the umbilicus. Berwi usually systolic, classically presented by vascular insufficiency of both lower limbs. Femoral artery Berwi. may be heard during auscultation of the right and left groins. Systolic Berwies usually presented clinically by vascular insufficiency of both corresponding lower limbs. It's not routine to auscultate for femoral artery Berwies or iliac artery Berwies, except if the patient is complaining of vascular insufficiency of both lower limbs, of one of the lower limbs. So you can auscultate, because it may be unilateral or bilateral. But this is not routine to auscultate for iliac artery Berwies or femoral artery Berwies, renal or even renal artery Berwies, except if the patient is hypertensive. Uterine softly and fetal heart sound can be heard in pregnant women suprapubic. Peritoneal friction rubs. In the figure in front of you, for auscultation of splenic rub, you put the stethoscope at the level of the left costal margin. For hepatic rub, at the level of the right costal margin. For venous hum, at the umbilicus or between the any site between the umbilicus and the sternum. For renal artery, you auscultate the renal hilum, that's opposite lumbar 2, that's say it's above the umbilicus. Iliac arteries, auscultation will be below and lateral to the umbilicus. For Berwies, or for peritoneal friction rub, over the spleen or over the liver, you will auscultate grating sound with that change with respiratory cycle. That this sound will have respiratory variations. Auscultate over the liver and the spleen at the level of the costal margins using you can use here the bill of the stethoscope. It indicates inflammation of the peritoneal surface of the organ from infection, tumor, or infarction. Causes of hepatic friction rub. Hepatitis, perihepatitis, chlamydial or gonococcal, primary or secondary neoplasm infiltrating the capsule of the liver, hepatic infarction. Hepatic infarction occur in myeloproliferative syndromes, polycythemia or chronic myeloid leukemia or essential thrombocytosis, and after liver biopsy may be transiently heard or auscultated. Causes of splenic friction rub. Perisplenitis, primary or secondary neoplasm infiltrating the capsule of the spleen, or splenic infarction. Fifth item is succussion splash. Splashing sound is heard like shaking of a half-filled water bottle. This splashing sound can normally heard up to 4 hours after meal. Heard splashing sound more than 4 hours after meal indicates delayed gastric emptying, for example, in pyloric stenosis. Technique for auscultation of succussion splash. Explain the test to the patient. Place the stethoscope over the epigastrium. Shake your patient vigorously from side to side. In positive test, splashing sound is heard. Auscultatory Buddle sign. It's useful for detecting small amounts of acidic fluid. It can detect as small as 120 milliliters. Shifting dullness and bulging of flanks typically require 500 milliliters. Maneuver for auscultation of Buddle sign, for auscultatory Buddle sign. Patient lies prone for 5 minutes. Patient then rises onto elbows and knee as the previous figure. The examiner put the diaphragm of the stethoscope to the most dependent part of the patient abdomen. The examiner repeatedly flicks the patient flank that is near to him with his finger over a localized area of the flank of the patient that is near to him, and continue to flick at the same spot on the patient abdomen. At the same time as the doctor flicks the patient flank near to him constantly at fixed point, the examiner moves the stethoscope by his other hand across the patient abdomen away from the umbilicus to the end of the opposite flank, to the far flank. Again, while the doctor flicks the loin of the patient that is near to him at a fixed point, the examiner moves the stethoscope from the center of the abdomen across the patient's other flank away from the umbilicus. The doctor at this time hears a certain sound with certain intensity and certain clarity. A positive sign is sudden increase in intensity and clarity of the sound, just as the stethoscope moves beyond the edge of the peritoneal fluid collection, the edge of the bottle. It's increase in intensity and the clarity of the sound the doctor hears. This means that the stethoscope now moves beyond the edge of the peritoneal fluid collection. Sound transmission does not change if the test is repeated when the patient sits. This test is technically difficult and rarely done, because it's better to do more easy and more accurate abdominal ultrasound. Scratch test, another use of the stethoscope for abdominal examination, is scratch test. This test is combined auscultatory percussive maneuver that can be used to detect or localize the border of liver and spleen or urinary bladder in difficult cases. Sometimes it is difficult to palpate the lower border of the liver or the spleen, especially better used for the lower border of the liver and the upper border of the urinary bladder, if not palpated easily. Scratch test is said to be more accurate than percussion or palpation in localizing the lower liver edge. Some examiners say this. Technique for the liver. To determine the lower border of the liver, either left lobe or right lobe, by scratch, if it is difficult to be palpated. The stethoscope diaphragm is placed just beneath to the xiphoid process for scratch of the left liver lobe lower border. If we want to determine the lower border of the left lobe, the stethoscope is nearly at the xiphoid process or just beneath the xiphoid process. Or if we want to determine the lower border of the right lobe of the liver, the stethoscope is put just above the right costal margin in the right midclavicular line. The first step is to place your stethoscope. If you want to determine the lower border of the left lobe, and it is the one difficult for you to be palpated, you will put the stethoscope just beneath the xiphoid. If you want to determine the lower border of the right lobe, you will place your diaphragm of the stethoscope at the costal margin and the right midclavicular line. Then the examiner starts to scratch the skin of the patient away from the stethoscope that's to say away from the organ or the border to be searched. Start away and moves toward the stethoscope, bit by bit, 1 centimeter at a time. The stethoscope is fixed, but you move the scratching or the flicking finger of the doctor. The doctor moves the scratching or flicking finger toward the stethoscope, starting away and moves toward the stethoscope. That is to say, the doctor starts scratching the skin of the patient from the suprapubic area in the middle line, moving toward the diaphragm of the stethoscope, that's to say toward the xiphoid process, for the examination of the left lobe of the liver. Or start to scratch the skin of the patient from lower point in the, or to the lowest point in the right iliac fossa, in the right midclavicular line, moving upward toward the right costal margin for examination of the right liver lobe. During scratching or flicking, the examiner or doctor hears the sound with special definite clarity and specific intensity. The point at which the scratching sound intensifies and becomes more clear, indicates a change in the underlying tissue and therefore the presence of the border you search for. Again, scratching test may be used if it is difficult to palpate the border of the lower border of the right or left lobe of the liver, or both. For the spleen, the diaphragm of the stethoscope is placed just above the left costal margin, and the scratch starts from lower point in the left iliac fossa in the left midclavicular line. Scratching for the upper border of the urinary bladder. The diaphragm of the stethoscope is placed just above the symphysis pubis. Then the examiner starts scratching or flicking the skin of the patient along the middle line, start above from the umbilicus and go downward toward the stethoscope or toward the border to be searched or to be examined, moving also bit by bit during flicking or scratching by his finger 1 centimeter at a time. The point at which the sound intensifies indicates a change in the underlying tissue and thus locates the upper border of the urinary bladder. Scratch test may not be routine part for abdominal examination, but if there is difficulty in palpation of the border of the organs, you can try scratch test. Also an instrumental exam, you must, a common question is use of the stethoscope in examination of the abdomen. So you must know the 7 points, the 7 issues mentioned for auscultation of the abdomen or use of stethoscope in examination of the abdomen or in abdominal examination. Thank you.